goods and services that are produced
in the country.
So these goods and services that are produced, these are not things that we produce just for fun. They are produced for consumption. The government built roads so that people can travel. It will be a waste of government budget if they build a road in a desert and nobody wants to cross through the desert. It's a waste of money. So another way to check it is how people are using these things. Now we're speaking of consumer expenditure. So all these goods and services that are produced during a certain time, we need to track the consumption of them. When you see retail sales increasing, it is showing people are consuming more goods and services. When you're seeing employment rising, it means more people are getting paid. What do you think they will do? We already spoke of disposable income going down to consumption. Consumption increases in the economy. All those things will affect your GDP. Do you see how you think about it?
Okay. Yeah, so my question was...
Now, with rising GDP, rising rising employment, rising retail sales and all these things, then you have rising inflation. Not that inflation affects, it's the other way around.
Sure. Okay, maybe this question angibekanga grand.
No, nothing.
Okay, but now ungibekele yona uyiclarifyile kahle nje. Just that no, bengifuna ukwazi ukuthi okay, since sibeka i-USD as i-reserve currency vele, how can we use this analysis, fundamental analysis, kwamanye ama-currency sikhona take advantage of that leso skill vele?
Okay, let me first explain this, ne. Ngibona ngathi kunabantu aba-pick sanayo lana. I don't know, maybe whether someone thinks fundamental analysis is only for currency traders and bona they trade maybe US indices. As long as you trade anything that is part of the global financial market, you're going to be affected by fundamentals. Doesn't matter whether you trade UK 100, you trade German 30, you trade the Aussie 225, whatever you trade, as long as it's part of the global financial markets, it will be affected by economics. Unless you trade something that is independent on its own, a different market, such as the derivative market, which I don't know what it is called, the synthetic indices, that is not part of the global. That's not global. That's not global. So the debate between currencies and indices and which one is affected by currencies, let's stop it here. Currencies, commodities, indices, stocks, worse, even crypto is affected by economics. You understand? So as long as you are a trade, if uti fuck fundamentals, leave the global financial markets, go to derive. But I cannot build my content based on derive because some countries like the US, people cannot trade synthetic indices. They are not allowed. They can't. They are forbidden. They can't open accounts with derive. Do you understand? So let us speak of the big pie rather than focusing. Phela umuntu onjalo kufana nomuntu othi in a fight, choose whether you want to fight 6 men or you want to fight one small little girl. And you are saying, let me fight the little girl. You are a coward. You are a coward. What happens when the little girl is no more there and you have to face these 6 guys? So I did trade indices, but I don't like trading something I do not know what it's affected by. How do I build my edge? So we are done with it. Your question, sorry, let's go back to your question. How do we build a system using fundamental analysis to trade different currencies? Was that your question, if I'm not mistaken?
Sure.
If you are paying attention about sentiment, I've already given you hints about how to go about this. Central banks are all different. They all have different targets. They all want to accomplish different goals. But you know what's nice about central banks? All of them use the same tools. All of them. So it's easy to now start comparing them based off one barometer, which is the tools they use, such as interest rates.
Okay.
Understand? So when one country is in a cycle of cutting rates while another is in a cycle of hiking rates, focus on those two economies. Now, every economic data that comes, here's the thing about economic data. Let me first help you understand this. Fundamental analysis is not about trading CPI at 2:30. No.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
There's a difference between fundamental analysis and trading a fundamental news event. There's a difference. Economic indicators are a small portion out of an entire segment in fundamental analysis. The role of economic indicators is to give the Feds or the central bank an idea of how the economy is doing. That is why when you study economic indicators, it goes hand in hand with monetary policy. But there's much more bigger than that. Fiscal policy on its own can move markets crazy than central banks can. If you don't believe
Because
me,
of tax laws and
look
other-
what happens with tariffs. Someone wants to ask a question. Who wants to ask?
Ukubuza
Yeah.
shikonje bengifuna ukuthini
Guys, but
Izovuya,
Is this-
uzoyikhumbula.
yeah,
uzoyikhumbula.
does this kind of help your trading in any way though? Because it does not help me having these lives talking about this. I mean, I can speak about this for 5 days in a row without stopping.
Yeah. Wathi ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi into as we speak now, since we might be going to, let's say we are in the US context, are we in a recession? Or
Can
we
I
are going to a
interject you
recession?
before? Ne? Just hold that question a bit.
Yeah.
Guys, no, imagine, not only the 4 that are here, all of you guys, the 97 here in this life, don't you guys wish that you could understand the market to at least maybe half of my level, if my level is already far? Just to get a fraction of this, don't you guys wish to know? Just to know, look, that resistance is going to break. For sure, I'm holding these positions.
Besides everything, that
And it
knowledge
breaks,
gives you
man.
confidence.
And it's not because, hey, Ninja I anticipated. No, it's facts.
No.
The interest rates are rising. It's you don't even, you don't. That's why once I move my stops to break even, I'm done for the day. Let the economics, let the fundamentals move the price. Hey, there's a rejection candlestick. Who gives a shit about a candlestick in a resistance? Hey, there are 3 dojis there. This thing will. Who gives a shit about that? Do you think the billions they're gonna stop investing in gold because they are seeing a huge rejection candlestick?
No.
No, those people are not even in front of the laptops or their screens at that time. They are in phone calls.
Thanks.
They are reading reports. So,
Perfect.
They're on the floor.
so lama files
So,
lama
Khotwana,
files
utshele,
lama
So do you
Lama
see the
files
issue?
are-
Because now once you start paying more attention to that, it limits the potential of your trade. Once you close it, you come back to this thing is broken. I shouldn't have closed. No, it breaks, it closes above. You say, let me add more positions. A headline comes. Russia just sent 5 missiles to Ukraine. Boom. A risk of environment. Gold gains strength immediately, and you were selling gold. You're like, but we just closed and broke below support. Dog, you don't know what is happening now.
Now, real time will never.
Real time. That is why I'm saying the market doesn't care about the past. That support, yes, it was made in 2003. Maybe there was a reason. But now, what is happening now?
Yeah, you can't mix real time with historical data. because-
You can't do that because for you to make a decision, when for you, Mount, you're 10 are you going to look at how many houses were sold 2010? Or you're going to look at the interest rates and how much you're going to pay right now?
You're gonna look at the current
You're gonna look at the current economic factors to say, will I afford this house? It doesn't matter if someone who's working the same job as you afforded the house 10 years ago. Right now, what are the interest rates? Uzoikhona yini leyo moto? Uzoikhona yini now? Same with the market. It factors in real data now. That is why trading is so difficult, because technical traders are trained based on past information. Backtest. Doc. Backtesting is so overrated.
It's
So
overrated.
Khutman ungitshele,
There's a
what do
way
you
of
think
backtesting.
shelter CPI vele?
Forward testing is the way. Forward testing.
Yeah.
That's why I tell
Yeah.
people, Doc, I understand demo. Maybe do that thing for 4 weeks just to understand how to buy, how to do it. But you learn by doing things live. Pay attention to what is moving the markets now. Because if I say, look at the support from 2015, Doc, who was the president in 2015? Who is the president now? Who was the central bank leader?
Yeah.
What was the inflation then? What was the sentiment then? What's the sentiment now? So why am I comparing two different economies? Like I'm comparing things. But if we look at 2015, is the same as comparing an economy in Jupiter in the US. It's non-existent. It's done. We moved past that. Nobody cares. If you don't believe me, look at what happened today. Interest rates, they cut by 25 basis points. Immediately after that, 30 minutes later, the market forgot about it. It was paying attention to what is Paul saying now. If the market can forget something that just happened 30 minutes ago, how much more something that happened 10 years back? Guys, Buffett.
So Khutman ungitshele, what do you think
Manje nawo
shelter CPI
lama
vele?
files ayellow.
Uba nobhiza khuluma ngezinto eziyelo, I'm mute kancane lapho. Yellow man, ithi kancane lapho. You were asking Hlongwane, was it you who's asking a question?
Hayi Khutman, bengibuza ukuthi ucabangani nge-shelter inflation vele.
Okay, by shelter inflation, let us define that, ne? So that we can all be in the same space. Yabo? Because job issue in economics, there are different terms for the same thing. As I showed you an example with GDP, you can define GDP in 5 different ways. Yabo? By shelter
yeah,
inflation, what are you speaking of in particular right now?
Okay, last time when I tried to do a research based on ECPI, mangfuni we analyze yabo. I discovered that the major sectors is influenced by CPI vele ku-US, it's shelter inflation. So that's why ngibuza ukuthi
Oh, you see, njengoba ngisho ukuthi, when you are having a conversation in the economic space, it helps to give definitions of what you speak of, because economists define things always differently while they might be speaking of the same thing. You understand? Someone might be speaking of national income. Someone might be speaking of GDP. They're still speaking of the same thing, but in different terms.
sure.
So, when they are saying that inflation is affected by certain things, number one, CPI is Consumer Price Index. It's an index. This index, it is made by a certain basket of goods and services, not all of them. So that is why sometimes maybe in Bexela you can see an increase in the price of tires for cars. Let me make an example. Let's say the price of petrol. If petrol is not part of that basket, your CPI, when the headlines they come, you will hear that maybe for this month CPI came low, but people will protest and say kanjani, while gas prices are to the roof. Is gas part of the basket of goods and services they are using to measure CPI?
Hey. Awishayile. Awishayile.
Do you understand?
Amavele. Hayi.
Makes sense.
So i-question yami ithi ngirefine kahle ke.
Alright.
Where does i-shelter index enter ku-CPI ke? Ngoba bathi it's weight yiyo ewea kakhulu ku-CPI be.
By shelter index, they are saying these are the goods and services that are used on a daily basis. Do you understand? These are the main goods that people consume the most. So instead of us speaking ukuthi ngibekisi the price of Dolce & Gabbana kupu, who gives a shit? Probably 99% of the economy doesn't even afford Dolce & Gabbana. So for us to speak of luxury brands is a wrong reflection of the real economy. Let us speak of njengas South Africa. If we were to measure, impuphu idliwa everywhere. Either you are Venda, you are Tsonga, you are Xhosa or what. Maize meal is a daily consumption in South Africa. Eggs, bread, those things. So ukuthi umuntu uzoqhamuka akhulume ngesushi and put sushi in CPI in South Africa. Who eats sushi? Very few segment of the population. So now that shelter index, look at it like this. Gikbeck said the word why it's called shelter index. We need shelter to survive on an everyday basis. That's what we need. It's a need. So the shelter index is a reflection or an index calculated based on everyday needed goods. You understand? So when we are looking at goods and services or commodities that are highly consumed, and we see that they are rising, that's what influences mostly, or that's what measures the most on your CPI. CPI, the basket of goods and services, it's different. You will find maybe you have housing, you have this, you have that, but does housing form part of an everyday consumption? How many houses are bought on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, compared to maybe fuel, something like that? I'm trying to explain it to you using examples. I don't know whether you are getting where I'm going.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So Iranjal, it is an economic jargon or an economic explanation that just says what weighs more on inflation are the things that people consume on a daily basis. That's what weighs a lot. That's the shelter index.
I think when I put them to explain it more better, if you can check, you even explained it before. You check the disposable income. You more bigger shelter inflation. It takes up most of the household budget, like your rent and mortgage costs. So if that is high, so you'll be spending less on your oil and impop or other things. So that can fuel the growth of the economy.
100%.
Thanks, my brother. Brother. Actually, mina bengisitshela ukuthi the leading indicator for CPI, and so I ended up using.
It is.
It's one of
Yes.
Hey,
You are correct.
we're
It
still
is a
learning.
leading.
We're still learning.
This thing if ne PPI ne. PPI is a leading indicator for CPI. Why do I say this? Because PPI measures the inflation on the wholesale level, not on the retail level. So the people that are producing these goods and services, the inflation that they get from their own suppliers, it could be overseas or local. If they are seeing a surge in prices from buying the raw materials, that's the PPI we're talking about. Inflation at a production level. When inflation is rising at a production level, businesses they are not going to keep that rising cost. They are going to transfer them to consumers. If for them their profit margin is always at 30% on the cost price, rising inflation means if it costed me $10 to create this sneaker, but now my raw materials are now costing me $15. At first, he was charging 30% on $10, selling the sneakers maybe for $13. But now his 30%, he must charge it on what? On $15. So you see that now he's transferring the cost. Yeah, he still wants to keep his profit margin. Instead of him saying, fine, raw materials are rising. Instead of me raising the price, let me lower my profit margin. They don't do that. They transfer the price. So now, if you are seeing a surging trend in PPI while inflation has not yet caught up, it is showing you that these guys are going to transfer these costs. On the retail level, maybe 2 months, 3 months later, you start seeing people saying, "Hi, the price of bread, the price of this." Why? These guys now are saying, no, where we are buying these ingredients, it's more expensive now. You guys pay the cost. So studying PPI before can give you insights as to future inflation. It's a leading indicator.
Okay, so based on lento issue, ila lento le ama trade balance nama tariffs ingena khona vele.
Yeah, you can say that as well, because if we can try to explain it in terms of tariffs, if there are businesses in the US that are buying raw materials from China, and the US is 100% tariffs on Chinese exports, it says if this business, let's say, what is an American company that we know of? Let us make an example.
Walmart.
What?
Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart. Very good example. I don't know why I keep on repeating myself here, but fine. Let's look at Walmart. Let's say for Walmart to have the things they sell, they store in China, and let us say per quarter, the cost of them buying these things on a quarterly basis, it costs $350 million. And then Trump says, we give you 100% tariffs for everything you import in China. So that means for them, if they spend $350 million to buy Chinese goods, when they get to the harbor at the US, they need to pay 100% of what they are worth, another $350 million. So they've spent $700 million for something they were usually spending how much? $350 million for. Do you think these guys are going to make profit if they keep their prices the same? They are not. That is why Powell is saying the inflation we are yet to see, even in the months to come and even next year, it will be as a result of tariffs.
Oh, so he sentiment for now.
No. The sentiment for now, it's not yet. I mean, the whole sentiment till today was rate cuts and expectation future cuts. These rate cuts, guys, was not only about the September cut.
Yeah.
It was about, remember, the market moves as a fluid globally. When inflation rises, inflation usually rises across the globe. When central banks, they hike interest rates, they hike all together, because what happens in one country, any country. To give you a simple analogy, COVID started in China, it ended up being a global pandemic. When inflation starts in the US, while everything else is cool everywhere, there are businesses that are working with the US. Those businesses, when inflation is rising in the US, what they are buying becomes more expensive. They have to transfer the cost to their local customers, in creating inflation in their local economies. That is affected to the other country that is working with this country that buys from the US. You end up having a global inflation problem. So when central banks start to cut, they cut, it's a cycle. So now we were on a rate cutting cycle, but the Fed did not cut. All central banks started cutting all this while the Feds were pausing. So now the market was expecting the same thing that has happened to the same central banks, to say, once these guys started cutting, they were cutting cycle after cycle. I understand? So the sentiment now was, finally, the Fed is going to catch up and also start cutting. But Powell didn't give them that confirmation that, are we starting to cut or not? He said this cut was a risk management decision. Inflation is still high. Do you understand how these things go? So now this is why it fucks up the whole sentiment to say, Alamadun, we thought you guys are gonna cut and cut and cut. You guys are not giving us that. What is the use? Dollar strength. So it was a false alarm all along. They were thinking we are on we're gonna start a rate cutting season. But Paul disappointed us, as he always does. He said, fuck no. That's not really what we're going to do. Then the market said, so all of this hype with dollar losing strength, it was for nothing. Might as well recover these losses. Do you understand how?
Oh man. Amabuzbulalile phela thina bese setha ama position okusela phela.
It helps you are in the live, at least now you know. But October, there's another decision. So depending on the expectations, because remember, this is what Paul said. Fine, Siyabonga Paul, we hear you. But what is the market saying? If the market says, we're going to force you to cut, the same thing will happen again. Because we look at the expectations, the probabilities on the CME, the dot plot. What are traders saying? The dot plot that came today shows that it is much lower than the previous dot plots, showing more probabilities for future rate cuts. But Powell being Powell, sometimes the dot plot comes because the dot plot comes right about the same time as the interest rate decision is made. Do you guys even know what the dot plot is?
I'm even Googling what is a dot plot.
Yeah, I just found out.
You guys are Googling.
I just found out today what is a dot plot.
What is
Ngeke
a dot
akushaya nge-DM lapho.
Yeah?
Ngeke akushaya nge-DM lapho. Ngibona isitori sakho upost i-dot plot vele ngiyasho ukuthi they similar. The recent one is similar from the one le June engicede ukufind out ngayo today. But
Machita,
not exactly.
let's speak the truth, God. Asiringiniva. From all the traders you follow, have you ever been in someone's live and learned as much as you learned in my lives?
No,
I never.
not a single thing.
For not even a fraction of the cost, for free.
Hey, hot man.
Is it maybe because my information is not valuable? Fuck no. I paid over 200,000 in tuition for this information in just undergrad only. So hell yeah, it's very, very, very valuable and very pricey. But for me to help traders become better, I need to help traders be aware of what is happening. If my aim is to sell the book I wrote with my supervisor, if my aim is that, will it not help to educate people first about this thing so that the more they read about it, then they can want my book? Is that not the better way to go about business? I think that's the best way to go about business. Instead of me saying,
Yeah, it's a valid way.
no, if you want fundamentals, pay. Let me teach you what I can teach you. And if you want more, you will pay for it. That easy.
Sure, because it's not easy.
Yeah, because I was about to ask, how is your? I don't know what's happening. Is it me?
I don't
Hello?
know. I don't know.
I wanted to ask, what is the structure of your mentorship? The balances and everything. To be honest, you're incredible. I don't wanna lie.
I don't like
I don't
those
know.
comments, you know?
I definitely. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to
The
take this.
reason why I don't like people praising me, you know why? Mina,
Yeah.
I grew up being the A student in my lifetime, since grade 1 till grade 12, university till now. I've always been the A student in the classroom.
Yeah.
So if you are used to always getting praises for doing well academically, it ends up becoming a nuisance when people, that's all they see when they look at you. They see books and intelligence. You understand?
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I would not even celebrate the awards. Sometimes I would even be absent during award ceremonies. Because whether you are doing so good, not because you are competing, but because your brain finds it easy to assimilate a huge number of you pray to you it's a walk in the park, and to others it's very, very difficult. So when you see other people, someone coming second place and they put in more hours than you, it's not nice. It's not nice. So the reason why I don't like comments such as those, it kind of reminds me back of those times. Yeah. It kind of brings that kind of thing. But anyways, thank you very much. No, I know it's a Intwana ghost. The only thing I'm waiting for, the reason why Nsengakabi King. Let me tell you something a little bit about myself, because I think it will be good. So that mangkala ningbona ngishintsha ningathi hayi seyane following enkulu yashintsha. No, guys, I'm not a humble person. Now let me tell you the truth. I'm not humble. And for people who think this guy likes simple things, I love expensive things. Let's start there. I love everything high end, but I'm still waiting on the budget for some of those things. The ones I have sharp, they are there. But if you see on my story one day, I'm in a Bentley or a Porsche, you should not be surprised. How much is this guy? No, I'm on my way to that. But the funds I am trading now, they are not enough for me to risk 100,000 per position. For me to close at a 450,000 take profit. You understand? For now, I'm still celebrating the 40K days, the 30K days. I'm building it. Maybe in a year's time, my account will have those multiple 7 figures for me now to say, fuck it, let's risk 200,000 in this position. And we close it 700K. It's coming. And when it is there, maybe by the time I get there, and it will be the same time I'll have a big following. You should not say, since he has a big following, this guy started showing. If you go back to one of my old videos, I smoke cigars for a living. Every day is a cigar day. So someone who doesn't know that, when they see me smoking that in a car, they'll be like, how? Ebe right asenza content ngesizulu lo mthita bese accommodator manje usuphila the American. This is who I am as a person, but do I have the money right now to drive a GT3 RS? No, not yet. But it is going there, and when I have it, I'm saying this thing because nyabaza abantu banjani, especially when people follow you, they want you to. Obviously, on my feed, I'll always give you this same content. There will be education. The thing I'm going to do now is giving more analysis, screenshot of an analysis and explanation like I did yesterday with GBBK. And also doing live video commentaries on my trades. But my lifestyle, no, that will remain only on the story. My withdrawals, my profits, everything, that will remain only on my story. But for someone, when they start seeing certain things, do not be surprised. Let's close it.
Sure.
You have the question.
So we position trade almost.
I was a position trader years back. I just don't think I have. Let's say I value money more now than I did then. To see 70,000 running and holding it, it's difficult for me right now. This is real money, man. 70K floating and you just, no ways. Maybe if it was demo, you'd forget about it and wake up, it's 3 million. But real funds, it's not easy. I don't understand. It's not easy, my guy. It's not easy.
Analysis.
Come again?
Who inspired you go fundamental analysis, man? At least in Antisio Pegama documentary.
He is a guy who started working at the New York Stock Exchange when he was it 16 or 15? Ken Chigbo.
Oh, yeah.
The bald guy. Yeah, Ken Chigbo. That's my idol. That's my idol. And if you look at Ken Chigbo, He's not big on social media, even on his. That's the only guy I'm in his free Discord group. I've been in his group, I don't know for how long. I just decided not to, for the sake of let me give my respects to the OG. So,
Yeah, hey.
if
I'll
I were to
push
take
you.
a fundamentals course, it would definitely be his. But lucky with me, that happened and I had already started studying economics. I understand. So I had already started making the connections by myself. So watching some of his stories on Instagram sometimes, it would be something I'm maybe seeing myself. So instead of me saying, let me go to pay for his course, I was already in an economics course. Let me finish the course. Let me do postgrad in this course. Let me see how far. But if there was a trader, I could say, for me, if there was, it would be him. But judging from how he speaks and trades, I basically think the causes wouldn't differ as much, what I have and what he has. Because I've seen the structure of his course, risk flows, intermarket analysis, same things that are in the gospel of the fundamental. But it would be nice. That's one trade I'd like to meet in life, let me say.
Yeah, I was funny. Hey, Goodman, Pega, there's a question here on the comment section. What about the COT report?
The COT report, very good. The COT report, we did speak on it last time we had a live. The COT report is an institutional tool, right? A statistical institutional tool. Somebody asked me about quant trading. That's my profession, by the way, career profession-wise. But I'm not allowed to speak more onto that, even the company I work for. I'm not allowed to speak on it on social media. I can't disclose. It's part of the agreement. I can't speak on it. But these are tools that I used, or these are tools that reflect institutional order flow. So you want to understand. Let me say this to just help you guys from the institutional perspective. Remember, I'm a fundamentals trader for myself, but I'm a qualified quant at work. Ne? But I'm not allowed to speak or make comments of that. That's part of the police. But let me say this to help you guys. In the institutional level, now forget I'm a quant. Let's forget about that part. By the way, quant and fundamental trading are two different things. Quant trading is using stats, maths,
Yes.
and machine learning.
And stochastics.
Stochastics, yes, statistics, part of statistics, to make trading decisions, right? So there are infrastructures, highly designed softwares that are designed
Algorithmically.
Thank you very much. You understand? So now it depends with the firm, and it depends with the firm's investment strategy. Some quantitative firms do incorporate fundamentals in their quantitative trading, meaning in their machine learning. The machines are trained to learn fundamentals, to take in data as it comes quicker than humans can. This is why you see the market react so quick immediately. You ask yourself, when did it get the data? That's machine learning. So institutions differ. Some quants, they use fundamentals. Some are strictly mathematical and statistical. So the COT, these are some of the reports at the institutional level that are used to track order flows. How many orders have been publicly emphasis on publicly, right? Because, okay, let me finish my statement. There's too many things going in my head. Let me. So,
my operas.
these are public orders that different exchanges have access to on the institutional level. 2, institutions are required to declare positions they take. Do you know that? That's how we now have the COT report, the Commitment of Traders report. That shows how many orders have been added or reduced, how many buys, how many sells, whatever like that. Now, as a trader, you use that as a confluence if you are looking at maybe trading gold to study the trend in the COT. How many positions have been added in gold? Are we seeing an uptick, a rising addition in gold buys, or are we seeing a reduction in gold buys? Why are there gold buys? At the institutional level, they know something you don't know. Maybe they're starting to take profits. Last week, I spoke of something about gold. Maybe I should not. Let me open the gold chart just to help you guys. Who was here last week on the live? I said something last week, right? I said, just hold a bit, let me finish this. I said this, that gold, I was expecting gold to buy, to pull back and come back to this area for me to look for buys. Those who were here last week, I was expecting gold to pull back for me to buy all the way to which level? Who was here last week who can remember? 3,700. That's where I said, that's where profit taking will happen. What is happening now at 3,700?
Rejection.
I don't want to further comment because let me continue with what I was saying. The thing about retail traders trying to follow the footprints of institutions, here is the problem. There is something called dark pool trading in institutions, where now they no longer have to declare some of the positions they are taking. Do you see how now that conflicts?
Yeah, sure.
Let's end it there. Let's end it there. I don't want to comment a lot about quant stuff. Any questions?
Oh, Mina.
Where can you check those? What, the COT? The COT is always available online.
Yeah.
So besides news event, what the best way as a retail trader, the best way for you, forget about institutional trading for now because we don't have access to some of these infrastructures. Let's forget about that. The quickest way and the most that is close to professional trading you can think of is following the fundamental data. Do you understand? So the undergrad I did at the Northwest University is a degree called Quantitative Risk Management Sciences. It's in the same school with actuarial science. I think it differs with 2 modules or a major or something. I don't know, but it's heavily it heavily relies on statistics, maths, and finance, and a little bit of computer science. That's heavy. So as much as I'm a very good economist, like to talk, I'm a very strong mathematician outside to talk. Because that's what I did. Then at Wits, after I finished it, I went for, but the economic side started it that side. That's what I came on to finish it, this side. Which best university than Wits?
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's enough about me.
Okubuza.
Yeah.
La mbuzo khona njengoba ukhuluma nge-USD negold.
Yeah.
khona la uthi i-USD ne-gold zinokuthi zibe izibhaye draw ngesikhathi esiyi-1.
Yeah.
So mekunjalo kuyenzakalani echathini mekunjalo? Like
No,
echathini.
that is US dollar, what will be buying and gold will be buying. We call that a risk off market. Let me explain, Kanjan. When
XAU-USD.
when Russia started fighting with Ukraine on 2022, that's what happened. We had a risk off environment. Both gold and the dollar started buying. If you don't believe it, go check it. Google the date they started fighting and when it got worse, and look at the chart. Gold and your USD, what, or just the DXY. Just check that. So the sentiment I was trying to explain earlier, which I said people must recall. Oh, if people want to join, how did you guys leave? Offense.
Mina ngathi
Manja.
ngizomshiya manje phone yami seyilow.
Yeah, no, 1670. I want to take questions. Are you satisfied with how I answered this one? Or you want me to go further?
I want you to go further. Then phone yami ina 2% manje.
Okay.
Yeah. Ngizovela icime nje.
Monetary policy, buff. Ila uzothola khona the inverse relationship. Because you are paying attention to the US central bank and how it affects its currency. But Kuma risk flows, gold and the US dollar, they are in the same group. They are both safe havens. So when you have a risk off environment, safe havens, they do well because investors want to save money. They want to run away from risk. So because the dollar is the world reserve currency, that's why it gains strength, and gold has been the reserve commodity for throughout history. That is why they move along the same side. So your job is to figure out, are we on a risk off sentiment or are we on a monetary policy sentiment? So that you know if these two will work in an end. And sometimes, here's the very conflicting part. Sometimes you can have three sentiments at the same time. Because right now, Pela, we still have Russia and Ukraine. They're still at war. We still have Israel and Palestine. We still have issues. We still have Trump and trade wars. The risk flows are still in existence. But the market is just paying to prioritize monetary policy right now. But if things were to worsen on the other side, you would see the switch up. Do you understand?
I do understand.
Yeah, it was alright.
Now I came at the Wall Street. Yeah, Wall Street.
Goed man. So since Vele, we are on a risk on sentiment.
No, I didn't say right now we are on a risk on sentiment.
Before I'm release way.
I heard you say this before. Let me help you so that you don't make this mistake. Sasane. You, by looking at the bond market and the few safe havens, doesn't qualify for it to be a risk-on environment. There are certain things, certain economic factors that will induce a risk-on or a risk-off. You understand? There are things that must happen economically. So if you see gold buying and you see the dollar buying and you see equities are selling, you see the crypto is selling, you see the bond market is buying, that is not an evidence that it's a risk-off environment. You need tangible things that are happening economically. Because now you are using fundamental analysis to make an economic conclusion.
So kushuthi ne-VIX nje ngeke isangisiza ukuthi
If VIX is if we add as a confluence based off an economic fundamental, an economic analysis, you don't start with VIX, you end with VIX and say After everything, this is what the VIX is doing, showing more fear. But you don't start with VIX. Fana COT. You don't start with the COT. Uqina ngayo.
Okay.
Yabo. You start with what is happening on the macroeconomic space, and then what can you use to confirm. Now you go to the bond market, you go to the equities market, you start to see. Let me give you an example. If right now Russia and Ukraine can sign like a ceasefire, they are signing that they are in actual documentation. They are signing their like it's law and abiding. That will offer a very good risk on. If the same thing happened with Israel and Palestine, that will offer not just words, ceasefire agreement by word, actual documentation signing down. That's an economic analysis, right? We've seen it happen in like on an economic landscape. Now you go into the chart, you want to confirm if the market is taking it as a risk on. Look at the bond market, the 10-year treasury yields. They are pushing up. Dollar. I'm sorry. Yields on a risk on, they are pushing lower. Gold is pushing lower. Dollar pushing lower. The equities, they are rising. Bitcoin, Ethereum, the crypto space, it's doing well. AUD, NZD, CAD, doing well. Oil, natural gas, your likes, they are doing well. CHF, JPY, they are doing bad because those are safe havens. After you've confirmed those, see, you started with the economic interpretation, you came to confirm with the charts. Then you conclude, oh, now we are on a risk on environment. But you don't start by looking at the chart to conclude that now they've already signed.
Okay, Goodman. Ngiyakuzwa Goodman lami. So should I have to start afresh like from kusasa nje?
No,
Qala
wena,
fresh.
kuwe akukho kubi. You just need to, there's just a thin gray line that you need to balance. You understand? Just twist yakhe into encane. It's not something big. So if you can revisit again, there's a cheat sheet I once made about the risk flows. I will check if I can still find that document in my laptop. I'll send it to you. Maybe it will help you to understand what I'm talking about.
Okay, good.
Uba usashaya ngendaba ye risk on and risk off sentiment.
Who's it? Hello? Oh, Wall Street. Yeah.
Ilula bafo lento, ilula kabi. I-risk is like ungathi nje it's all about ama moods whereby they are afraid. They want to be safe. Kwelinye side is whereby they are comfortable, they are willing to risk. Ifana lento ahleze ichaza umisheshezi lana about the fundamental ne-technical. Hayi ngabe ukuthi kuthiwa hayi abantu mabashintsha ama-strategy wabo ukuthi nani uhleze ichaza lento. The fundamentals will tell you why the market is moving, where is it going, and then technically yohleze ichazela ukuthi how that is going to be happening. For an example, if iFed cut ama-rates, meaning it's weakening the currency, so at least ikunikeza i-direction ukuthi izoya ngaphi. That's why. And then i-chart izokubonisa wena nge-strategy sakho, breaking the structures like in different strategies. But if you ask the right direction of the fundamental, you will get the trade sonke lana, whether it's what is this smart money concept traders, price action traders. So angazi abantu behlezi bephikisa when he's trying to teach about ama fundamental, because of is the direction emarket ehamba ngakhona. Noba kungathwani noma umuntu angatrade i-strategies 10 yohlezi market ifollow i-fundamental because of the facts. For an example, the market is driving about 3 guys. I call them 3 guys. It's GDP, inflation, and interest rate, of which is the main guy, the big one, that makes the decision by looking at the SEC2, by looking at the GDP or inflation. For an example, US now is It's like a mother that having 2 children of which is GDP no inflation. The mother is always concerned about the one. It's either inflation or not GDP. And then they make decision. Nah, they don't make decision they feel like it. So by looking Lama fundamentally, it makes you at least to be one step ahead behind them. What Mr. Chess is teaching, guys, is very powerful. I so wish people can take this thing, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
It won't be
Yeah,
easy.
that-
It won't
that
be
was-
to learn it. Yeah. But
that was
under
my
GDP, there are economic indicators that drives GDP. Ama infrastructures, ama employment. Inflation is all about prices. So if
Ah,
GDP is doing bad, ngubani ozospend emarket? Bazoyithatha kephi imali abantu?
Sorry
I-Wall
ukuniphazamisa
Street
guys.
vele akatholanga indaba straight.
Sorry ukuniphazamisa. Wall Street nawe offense. Kunento la engifuna sixoxeni. Immediately I posted about the dot plot today. People, everyone, I think I've read over 10 comments now. Because it's earlier I was speaking, so I was not paying attention. So Joban talk, I'm reading
That's
through this comment. Hey, I'm not interested in dot plot, bro.
So I'm sure they were gonna be even confused about the dark pool and the iceberg.
Eh.
A lot of deep stuff, guys. Yeah,
Hayi, bafo,
Yo.
ayihluphi kakhulu le shandisi le. Information kancane siyayikhipha. Akulula ukuthi uvele uthi boo.
no way. It will take time.
What I've shared on my videos and my lives is not even a fraction of what is yet to come. You know, it's not even a fraction, but I need to take it as levels. Right now we are at grade 1. I must speak grade 1 information. So
Sure.
the more I teach my followers, and I can start to hear even from the comment section that my people understand the flow, I will know you guys now are ready for what. And by commenting on this, but if it's a number which are you using? Yeah, about from talking about proper things. If it's a number will ask me, am I still on MT4 or I've switched to MT5? It's good. So that's why last week when MJ joined and he was asking proper questions, I was able to go deeper based off of what he was asking. So siseza, net dot plot siseza give, but just on passing, it dot plot, these dots you see, how you study those dots. So for every interest rate decision, there is a dot plot epuma. Similarly with the Bank of England. Go Bank of England corner, we have MPC vote counts, the Monetary Policy Committee vote counts. Out of the 9 members of the policy decision makers, how many are choosing cutting or hiking or pausing? So now that is a forward guidance to tell you if the market says the Bank of England is going to hike interest rates. Let me make an example with something that happened last month. Last month there was a market expectation of a cut by 25 basis points. I think 21 I cast 12. I don't remember the date. So that cut, the MPC vote was the expectation. 7 out of 9 were expected to vote for a cut, 2 for a pause. But during the day of the release, the data came and said 5 voted for a cut, 4 remained with a hawkish pause. That instead of the pound losing strength because they cut interest rates, that forward guidance of the MPC vote count, the fact that more people decided not to cut while the market was expecting more people to vote for a cut, more decided not to. So you see that the market was expecting the bank to be more dovish, but they were not. That's what made the pound gain strength. Forward guidance. In the US, the dot plot has a similar effect. The dot plot, I'm not going to go in details about it. Here's the video, the dot plot. The dot plot, in essence, it is giving you forward guidance of the vote of the members. How many are thinking of more future rate cuts or hikes? If majority of the dots are below, it means more members are voting for a cut. If they are above, they are voting for a hike. Does it make sense?
Sure, Goodman. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Marabafana, man.
PhD level. I think what you guys should do, just take notes of these headboards.
noNkulunkulu engitusiza abasizayo. Siyazama.
Yeah, just take notes, guys, of what Mr. Shez is saying. Then you can do your research online.
Eish.
I'm information. I'm a huge activist for education. I believe in education so much. Not the traditional way, go to school, get a degree, go get a job. Not that. But I believe to be the best at anything, school can help you. Because that's where you can start. But people only have a small exposure in school. They only have the exposure only until the degree level. Once you get to your master's level, you become the master of what you're doing. You are given research projects in research. You go, you research, you come, you publish things. So now school is giving you a platform to go and find new things. Like myself as a trader. Let's say my research now was on international economics and its effects on retail trading. Do you see that now gives me an academic platform with all the resources of that institution and the backup of that institution to go deep into the market, find things, publish them, and build a name out of it. So if one day my dream is to own a hedge fund and I have that certification to say, I've published so many articles, here is my research gate from Wits about the finance market. How many doors do you think that can open for me? Do you understand? So the reason why I'm saying this, every information I give out, go research it on your own. Do not just religiously take it and say, Shez says sentiment is, go research it, go critique it. That is why on the comment section I say, if you want to come and start an interesting dialogue, before you comment, whatever topic I'm speaking of on the video, do your own research of it. You can choose a side. If you want to debate based off an academic or an intellectual perspective, not an emotional perspective to say, hey, no, minus banban mang 70 ABC method. What is that? No, research. You understand? Research. Because once mina into my research and I publish it on my research gate, I have the copyright of that information. It's now accepted. It's an academic evidence. It's a fact now because it is published and proven by a high academic, by a university of high tertiary, whatever, what you call it.
Because you are accredited to go to publish.
We understand.
Yes.
Because number one, I did the coursework on undergrad.
Yes.
I hands are part of the coursework and started research on honors. You're on masters now. You're doing strictly research. You're done with masters. You go to PhD level. Still strictly research. The fact that the university trusts you and says, we agree with you, it's because you've proven all the years on your studying hierarchy, you are good for this. So for them now, Pella, when you research, they are doing part of their job. Part of being a lecturer is not just teaching students, it's also being a researcher. When you work for a university, you are employed both as a researcher and a lecturer. You need to research, publish things so that the university can solve problems that are there in the community. So if I go and find out something, and now it becomes part of academic facts. I'm not talking about research ephelela ku-Google or ChatGPT. Go deep, use Google Scholar. Go to people research gates. Find out more. But I see here, Elena, it's more sensitive than let's stick to the text. Let's stick to fundamentals. But the people that are in this and they are willing to further their studies, guys, do not think education is the enemy. If you have the zeal, the power and the means to. I mean, if you're a trader, go do something in finance, economics, international economics, go do something in your field. It will help. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. But someone might come to me and say this. You are speaking of all these qualifications and all of this, what university this. There are traders I know that are high school dropouts and they're driving Lamborghinis and whatnot. And I'll say, good. Give me a few years too. Because the only thing for me to keep defending this is to have so much material possession so that no, I know Mang, he drives an Austin Martin DB12. I can show him 2 DB12s and say school still works. It worked for him out of 1 million, which he became successful like that. Hustling, Nikala knew 50,000, kuphumelela bayi-2, Bill Gates, no Mark Zuckerberg, who are college dropouts. Not all of the people they dropped out with to pursue entrepreneurship, they made it to the Forbes list. Some of them are still broke today. So do not think you'll be part of the 2 out of the 50 gazillion million number of people who, no. If uspana ungagiyeki lokho kwamanje, do lokho kuncane okusakusiza. That's why in English they say, the day the blind man starts seeing, the first thing he drops is the stick that used to help him all these years he was blind. Let kusiza right now i-forex isengakakusebenzeli ungayilahli. If kukuthi umantshingelani ungagiyeki lokho. Asiphila impilo yakho Instagram la sotshela namavara. You will stop that job when you see that now sengigrand into zami ziyaphusha zi-right. Ngiyakhona ukwenza 3, 4, 5 times of lento engiyenzayo per month. I have savings that can last me 2 years. Even if I were to enter a losing streak, ngigrand. But ungasheshi ujaha ukucutter off into esakusiza empilweni manje, all for the name of trading. Ningakujahi lo. I for myself, I'm a full employee, and a full-time student. So not because, okay, the only difference is that maybe my job pay is really good. Maybe that's why I'm still in it. Maybe that's the difference. But the minute I can make 5 times of that income from trading and I have saved 2 years of, I will definitely stop. But because probably my job has to do with more of what I'm already doing in trading, I might as well stick around to get the institutional background, knowledge more and experience before I quit. Never know. We don't know what the future holds.
Awukakazami prop firm?
I have. I started trading prop firms 2019 or 2020, somewhere there. Between the two.
At least good man. Plus ngayi yaspana actually ayi ngasikudala uzobe soyi-position trader.
Mfana ngiyichazile ama-position trader, I don't know. Mhlawumbe bangaba nemali eqishilanga. Okwamanje anginayo imali eqishilanga. Mase nginaleyo mali ukuthi I can open one position, risk 500,000, hold it for 6 months, close it at 5 million. Maybe. Hey, for now, I need my trades to make sense and close and withdraw. I have daily needs. I don't have too much cash lying around. As I said, I cannot just sleep seeing 70K of 35 or 40K floating, and I'm like, still little. I'm not at that stage yet. 40K is a lot of money. I close that trade.
And imagine like what happened today on the market. Those guys were holding while they saw that the Fed went down. Like imagine holding those profits. Some of them they were holding those profits. The market came back.
A lot of people blew accounts today. I didn't go to Instagram, but I know most people are crying. For facts, most people are crying.
It's not fair.
How's
We had a bearish bias. At the end of the day, Chigi say siyabhaya manje. We went bearish.
follow the news. Listen, because Pella, every time, guys, let me give you a strategy from today. Going forward. Ngicela nilalele le nto engizoyisho la. Ibaluleke kakhulu. Every time you will have an interest rate decision, what matters the most, or what gives the edge in the market, or what is the big thing, is not the rate decision. It's the speech after the rate decision. So if Powell, I mean, say the dollar dropped after they confirmed the cut. If this guy got in there and became very, very dovish, we would be speaking into manj. So the actual momentum comes after the decision. You need to listen. Moreover, the speech, the press, I understand the press. It doesn't take time, probably 15 minutes. Let him speak and finish. The game starts when he says, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Any questions? That's where the game begins. Listen very well. Both the questions and the answers.
Because I see ku SCP vele iveza amagama washilo during the speech. So does that mean with the SCP report makakhuluma nje ku live
the SCP report comes even before. Yeah, he's just reading the report there, just giving an update.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
What he was speaking on the speech, I had already gotten that. The market already knew what he was going to say on that. When we speak of FOMC being very choppy, we're not speaking about the press conference. We're speaking about the Q&A after. Because that's where now people ask him, that's where now he has to speak and tell what they are planning. You understand? Remember, I said to you, the market cares about the future. What are they planning to do tomorrow? They don't care about data point that has already been released. Because that's what he reads on the press, giving them... Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Gives them a future direction. The problem I think the guy... Yeah, one of Mr. Shares, the problem with the guys, it comes when Amakuluma fundamental, they talk about those previous actual what. And they end up trading the impact of the news. Instead of listening to the news, most of the people don't trade the CPI. Instead of checking what is happening on the prices, and then they will know what is going to be happening later on with the Fed.
100%, I agree with you.
The problem, they trade the impact, the news event impact.
So
During the news event, they are not supposed to be entering the market. They are supposed to wait and listen. That's the problem. They don't wait and listen. They trade before news. 29, they are in. That's the problem.
Awukwazi ukukhona namhlanje.
Hleli nkokheli.
Akafuni ukujoyina.
When they trade the news impact, that's what happens.
But lol, yimi ne-chat ne-chat GPT. Guys, nina niyadlala nina. Yazi ngibona abafana ku-Instagram these days banalo mkhuba lo ukuthi they screenshot the chat and paste it on ChatGPT for ChatGPT to do the fundamental. I'm like, so someone asked me as well and said, was it on the comments or what? Yeah, there was a comment that you can use ChatGPT for fundamental analysis as well. You can use ChatGPT for finding certain information. not for ChatGPT. Number one, it is not yet trained with sentiment. You understand? So ChatGPT will be generic and say when interest rates are high or when inflation is high, interest rates follow. And that's not always the case. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a problem of stagflation, so you need to be good with prompting. Say, ChatGPT, this is the sentiment that is happening from the market. Good. This is what you have to do. ChatGPT, this is the sentiment that I'm seeing on the market. Give it feedback, teach it, train it, so that it knows what is in your mind. Look, Trump is fighting with the Fed governors. This is the issue. This is causing a risk of environment because now people are afraid to say, is the Fed really independent? Even on the Q&A, they asked them, are you guys really independent? Because we are seeing the effect of politics entering with, you understand, all those things. You train it so it knows, okay, this is actually what is happening. This is what. But for you to even get to the point where you are able to train it like that, you need to be an expert fundamental analyst. An average guy trading using ChatGPT and me trading using ChatGPT, those are two results. My ChatGPT will give responses you can only dream of because of how I'm prompting it. AI is all about how much you can feed it information and ask it, called prompt engineering. So if you just ask it, Jay, it tells you from the surface, but you train it. You train it. So what my company is working on, PSI AI Solutions, what it is working on, that's the last time I vowed not to speak about this thing. Let me not speak on it. They say if you speak of things too early, they usually die. So let me not fuck up myself. Let me not shoot myself in the foot. But it's something that has to do with using AI for fundamental analysis.
Hey, awukazufise nje ufikela ucabanga ukuthi uyera NYC vele.
One day I'll go there. I've never been to the States, so the day I go to the States, I'll go there.
Most of abantu bayara vele baspanisi fundamental. Last time mangibheka ama-documentary ngiyabona ukuthi
It's been numbers all these years. No engulfing candlestick there. It's been numbers all these years, guys.
Hey, yes, I wish le gang ngihlalilwa nathi na comment ngabe ngayiyo le joiner lama live.
But
Because
yes,
lana ku joiner abantu who are actually believing in what he is saying. I wish ngabe ku joiner le gang le ethi sikhuluma umbhedo.
those guys, they have issue.
ave ngeke iphele.
Hayi, yazi kumnandi kanjani phela ilula. This other guy who was a very activist, he joined one of the lives. I saw his comment at now I do see where your videos come from. He never commented on my videos after that. But the mentors tell us to enter 30 seconds before and boom, we blow. Just like that.
That's the problem, trading the impact.
Yeah, don't leave the impact. Take the number. Take what is actually happening. Take what are the fundamentals saying overall.
And you see, Mr. Shares, I think I saw another thing that is kind of like confusing those who are studying fundamentals when they are checking at those numbers. They are looking also at the color instead of looking at the numbers. Sometimes the number will come green, but it's still on the negative side. And then they will think. So they are being tricked out and then they focus. Look at the number, don't look at the colors. Leave the colors.
Yeah, you're right, Hotman.
Yeah.
Because if its target is 2%, more or less numbers that come out any ngaba green, whereas it's still on the negative side.
And they won't talk about they're gonna cut 2%. They call about beat 50 to 50. They've said this.